Hello and welcome to the Kristin Carrera podcast. I am your host, Kristin. Welcome back if you've been following along. And if you are new, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, follow along, and comment. I'd love to hear where you are on your journey, whether you're on carnivore, whether you're just checking it out or starting out, or whether you're on keto. I don't care where you are on your journey, but you are here learning about health, trying to figure it out for you. And so congratulations if that is your journey. Today, I want to talk about a big question that a lot of carnivores have, especially when starting out. How much fat do you really need on a carnivore diet? So here is the thing. It varies. And I know that isn't the answer that you're probably looking for, but at the end of the day, there's no one size fits all, and we have to find what works for us, right? So some people thrive on the high fat approach, while others feel better with a little bit more protein. So as you are starting out on carnivore, this is something that you will have to learn on the cues that your body gives you and see and play around with what works for you. So the general ratio that works for most people is around 70 to 80% fat and 20 to 30% protein. But honestly, again, you have to find what works for you. So when I first started carnivore, I knew that the fat was important. You hear when you research fat, you need a lot of fat and protein because that is the basis to a carnivore diet. Now, I had to figure out my own balance because I have microscopic colitis. I've had it since my early 20s. It is something that is triggered by just different things, different foods that I eat. And I've had to learn along the way what I can eat, what I can't eat. And sometimes I would still have a flare up. And so I realized that if I had too much fat, let's just say ground beef, and it was a 90-10, I was running to the bathroom, and not in a good way. Not that I think running to the bathroom in any way is a good way, but it was no bueno. Okay. So at the same time, not eating enough fat would leave me with low energy and not feeling satisfied. So I had to figure out what worked for me for my body because of my condition. So depending on what you have, if you have any gut issues like me, then you know that this 70 to 80% fat, 20 to 30% protein may not work for you. You might have to cut back a little bit on the fat, add a little bit more protein. Maybe your body needs more fat, right? So again, finding what works for you, it really is like a game of chess, just trying to figure out where you need to place. I don't know why I use the chess analogy because I don't play chess. What is it called? Checkers, your little checkers thing. Oh my gosh. Okay. Focus, Kristin. I'm trying to make a quick video for you. I need to run out of the house. Okay. How do you know how much fat you need? That is the next question. So here is what helped me. Pay attention to your energy levels, okay? That to me was so important. Feeling sluggish might mean that you need to add more fat, okay? That definitely helped me noticing my levels of fatigue that day, feeling if I had brain fog. All of that led me to knowing whether I needed more or less fat. Number two, digestion matters. So if you're running to the bathroom, which I've been there, you might need to pull back on the fat. Okay. So it is normal to have a little bit of diarrhea in the beginning of starting carnivore because your body is adjusting and it's not used to having only protein and fat. But if it becomes something that is super consistent for a long time, I think in my personal journey and what I went through, I think you need to cut back a little bit and see if that works for you. Again, you got to figure out what works for you. And number three, hunger cues. If you're constantly hungry, you might not be eating enough fat to keep you satisfied. So if you're like, well, I had 2 eggs and 2 bacons in the morning, that might not be enough protein and fat to keep you satisfied. So if you are still hungry, you need to eat more. Do not worry about going into intermittent fasting or OMAD right at the beginning. I think that that is a huge mistake a lot of people make. I think you need to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. Your body will tell you what you need. It will tell you what you need, okay? The key is trial and error. And it might sound silly, but at the end of the day, that's how we're going to figure out what works for us, because again, we are all so different. So finding what works for you is important. Some people feel amazing on a super high fat approach, while others do better on a leaner style. And by leaner, I just mean like a little bit less fat. You still want a fatty piece of meat, but maybe not add as much tallow to cooking that meat if the meat itself is already fatty. If the meat is a little leaner, then you want to probably add a little bit more fat to that. But again, you got to play with it. Playing around with your fat intake, listening to your body, and finding the balance to keep you full, feeling your best is what is important. So that is it for today. If this helped, please like, follow, and share. And if you have any questions, please leave them below. I would love to get them answered. And I will see you again on the next podcast.